Welcome, everybody. I feel really blessed to be here this morning. I think we're all here because we know we need to change the world, and we all believe that in some way we can be a part in changing the world. I think of that especially as, and I just kept thinking through the song as we just celebrated Earth Day on Friday, which needs to be 365 days of the year. But I definitely was thinking about changing the world and being a part of that. So welcome. I'm so glad to see everybody here. It's Sunday, April 24th. Today's theme, who you are and why you are here. And we're all so looking forward to hearing Art Cisneros this morning. This Wednesday, we are going to be taking a 1-week break. And so we will not be meeting over Zoom this Wednesday. We are live streaming today in our private Facebook page, and we are going to do a meet and greet in a few minutes. Thank you especially for supporting us. You can find the Jesus Collective on Venmo. This is important that today will be the last day that our contributions will be matched. So today is the last day for that. So Michael is going to put the link in the chat. Today's quote is from Randy Woodley. So my understanding is that our responsibility as Indigenous people is to be keepers of the land. That means the whole of all the ecosystems and all the human systems. Our role is to maintain harmony and balance. That is my job on Earth. That is the job I take seriously while I'm here. When the land is used badly and the community of creation is mistreated, everything becomes out of balance and in disharmony.
Is going to lead us in our reading. You there, Dr. Trina?
I am. We have forgotten who we are. We have alienated ourselves from the unfolding of the cosmos. We have become estranged from the movements of the earth.
Forgotten.
We have forgotten that we all need to breathe, eat and drink. We all need peace.
We all need a place to call home.
Our corporations lust for profit. We shy away from using the word greed. Diplomacy becomes delicacy.
We are leery.
We are leery and weary of the voices that warn us.
Meanwhile, the bees have no sanctuary. The skies have no rain, and the weather has no pattern.
We have
forgotten who we are.
Now we are burning rainforests. The creatures are despairing, and the poor still feel powerless.
We have forgotten
who we are.
Give us the courage to change what we cannot accept. Fires rage and oceans rise. We ask forgiveness and for the gift of remembering.
Remind us of who we are. Remind us that we are gods and goddesses, and we are compassionate caregivers.
Yeah. And let's Let's pray at this time. Lisa, are you leading us in prayer? You there, Lisa? She was on. Well, let's pray. Our hearts are open, Creator. It is said that there is nothing you can give if we do not make room for it. And our hearts are wide open today. Our minds have been active, we've been busy, but we have dedicated these moments because our heart and our flesh long for the courts of the living God, as the psalmist said. In a dry and weary land where there is no water, we thirst for you. Deep calls to deep, the noise of your water spouts. When we hear, when we see the thunderous waterfalls, it reminds us of the depth, the cavernous depth of our being and our longing to be satiated, to be not just quenched, but drenched. And so here we are. Here we are, looking to you, looking to one another, looking for reinforcement, looking for wisdom. And we will receive these things. Amen. Well, folks, take a moment to make somebody feel comfortable for being here. All right. everybody. When I think of Art Cisneros, I think wisdom, and I think love. We have loved each other for many years. Art Cisneros is a Chumash elder and firekeeper. His roots in Santa Barbara County go back tens of thousands of years, but he's not focused on the past, rather on the present and the future. Technically retired, he works passionately to unite humanity in caring for our mom, planet Earth, striving to live up to his Chumash name, Earth Man with a good heart. He holds fire ceremonies and tells about our need to heal our relationships with ourselves, with the earth, and with each other. I have a quote from Art: "Human beings are interdependent with all beings for our existence. Our world today is out of balance because we have forgotten our responsibility as caretakers. We have forgotten to love one another unconditionally as children of the same mother. We have forgotten that everything was given to everyone to share, and that the greatest of us is responsible for the least of us." And so it is my honor to share with you, everybody, Art Cisneros. Can we thank Art for being here? Yeah.
Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Oh, good. Thank you for the introduction. And thank you for inviting me to be here. You've shared enough about me that I almost have nothing else to say. In this moment, I will try to answer the first of the questions that have been posed for me to reflect on. The first one being, who are we? And for that, I would like to share the Shumish beginning for all ceremonies, which identifies that and answers that question. The spark in the great mystery is the spark in my heart, and it lives forever and ever and ever. I am part of God. We come from that. Together, we form a web of light from those little sparks. That is our connection to the natural world and all the sparks in the consciousness of all beings. Trees, birds, whales and dolphins in the water, everything that crawls, creeps, walks on four legs, all the green, everything. And our primary responsibility as the caretakers is to take care of it all by being the best we can as caretakers. We are here to share our intimate connections through the spirit world and to offer our gifts, our heart, our ability to help the plants grow, to give gratitude to all that we ask permission to use, and to always give back something when we ask to use trees or plants to eat or to do medicines with. So this relationship, as part of our service to everything that lives here, including each other, is to do our best to understand what our individual gifts might be and share those gifts with consideration for the greatest good. From my experience, and some of the teachers that I've been fortunate enough to have as teachers, I've learned several things that help me to take care of everything. Jesus Christ was one of those wonderful beings that we could look to as the example of how to take care of ourselves and take care of others by just sharing our love, our kindness, whatever gift it is that we have, for the greatest good of everybody else. This responsibility doesn't end. It's in everything that we do every day. I need a drink of water, and so I will thank the water for being available to me, maybe hold it to my heart, to imbue it with my love, my energy, so that when I drink that water, it becomes medicine for me. It is my interaction with all the things that provide me sustenance. It's difficult today to be an earth man with a good heart, because I see some of the bad behavior, bad action, bad intention, bad words spoken, misunderstandings created by being disconnected from that light source that's within. So my prayers have always been, and will continue to be, to help others heal from whatever wounds and traumas they may have experienced that prevents them from getting close to their own heart. I think my work is to help heal the hearts of those who have been harmed in some way or another, either through physical abuses or psychological manifestations of things that sometimes affect us all. The anxieties and traumas, the terrible news that is always around us, affects us. If we don't take care of our hearts that takes it all in, we can suffer. Dis-ease creates dis-ease. So I try to give hope, show people that everyone has meaning in their life just by being alive. With all the wonderful hearts that are in existence today, billions of people, I imagine that this is a new energy, a new force that is just beginning to wake up. One of the prayers that I've heard that I often use is wake up, wake up, wake up. Open up your heart. Listen with your hearts. We are one. We are one. We are one. What affects you affects me. What affects our mother affects us all. We have to remember these interconnections, and whenever there's an opportunity to put our love there, to put our love to wherever we see the separations, the inconsistencies in our expressions of our gifts. People have the gift to be able to attract abundance. In our traditional way, that person would have the opportunity to share so that everyone is taken care of. The person who is generous can be held in high esteem, not because they have produced so much as how much they give away. So there are examples, good examples around, sometimes difficult to see or understand. I'm very grateful. Yesterday I was at the Earth Day celebration at Arlington, and what's displayed there is all these wonderful people who are doing their best, utilizing their gifts, their talents, their ability to attract resources, abundance, for the purpose of sharing with the world. So I have hope, and I will continue to do what I can to inspire hope, to take care of the entanglements that we sometimes have with difficult situations that take all our energy and then entangle you in the thought that you can't do anything about it. Well, we can. Whatever problem there might be, rather than getting entangled in the problem, I will try and provide at least an idea of a solution. I guess what I'm trying to share with you about being who you are with whatever gifts you have, I want you all to know that it all begins with your desire, your heart's desire to do good in whatever you do. My mom was a cook, a maid. She took care of people's houses and she cooked for them. And she also cooked for my family and larger families when we came together for celebration. And she was adored by the community and held in high esteem because she did share her gift, cooking, taking care of people. So we have something. There are others who have the gift of knowledge or the ability to utilize knowledge and create things. Hopefully, we learn to utilize all the tools that have been created to use them in a good way. We're sharing the computer and the ability to be with each other electronically. That's a big gift. One of my teachers, Grandfather Wallace Black Elk, Lakota, a spiritual interpreter, I was with him and he would say, use the spinning balls to send the messages around the world of what is needed right now. At the time, it was in the 90s, and the satellites were being utilized to transmit these electrical impulses that transform into this picture and my voice. So there's so much that has been created, maybe not for the best purpose, but now we can utilize these new tools for the greatest good. And I'm hopeful, and I'll try my best to inform those that are in places of influence to do the right thing, to do the good thing for the benefit of all, because we need to do that now. We have, I've been speaking with my uncle from Greenland, Ongongok, was sharing a message from his land about the melting of the ice. And he invited the world to be with him when they celebrated the melting of the ice back in 2008, I mean. Yeah. And for probably 40 years, he had been traveling previously, beginning in the 70s, 60s, when they knew that the ice was going to melt. And he spoke in the United Nations on several occasions, and in most heads of countries around the world. Standing ovations. Oh, thank you for letting us know that we're in trouble and that we should change our ways. Al Gore even asked him to endorse the book that he wrote about the inconvenient truth. And when asking the elders, they said, no way. He hasn't been listening. The governments haven't been changing. Corporations are still allowed to go wherever they wish and use whatever they find. And if necessary, just take and take and take without giving back. It's not the right way. So here's another moment. We're sharing a little bit of information and you have the ability to talk to others. And maybe somebody's listening right now and they'll share these messages with more people, and eventually everybody's going to get it. We're in the process of awakening, and other seers and people who can interpret the signs, if you will, including my friend Jose Munoz, who carries the new calendar for the next 26,000 years, the Mayan calendar, which is actually a compilation of several traditions, the Hopi and the Maya and others. Well, now's the time. All the prophecies are telling us that we can either have a short life or we can continue going forever, in a sense. So hopefully my little talk will inspire others to continue to wake people up, wake everybody up. We've got to learn how to conserve the energies that are being misused. An example would be the natural law. You know, if we look to nature and see how it works, we call it the natural law. That can show us the way to do things. One of the things I wanted to share in the moment, because of the Ukraine conflict, and also because I remember my own participation in armed conflict in Vietnam, is that all the people of the world were given the same instructions. Do not use the fire to harm anyone. Whoever decided to invent fire in a capsule so that it would combust instantaneously began the process of the experimentation with fire to destroy, culminating, of course, in the atomic bomb and hydrogen bomb. Everybody knew we weren't supposed to do that, and everybody knew we weren't supposed to use it. And yet, people didn't think. I should say they didn't go into their heart and feel what was right and wrong. And so man has created their own idea of how the world works and how we should influence in it. And that's the worst thing to do, to disconnect your heart from your computer. The heart is the center of all information, and the computer is just used to translate that information so it's useful in some way. So my prayer today is that we all can have health and happiness, protection, safety, abundance, and that each of us can do our part to manifest that. The calendar and the moment, the interpretation for the first 600 years is there will be illumination of such brilliance and such light that no one can hide. All the darkness in the world, there will be light coming to it. So now we see politicians cannot lie to us anymore. We see who they are. The past president was a good example. He could say one thing, but we knew what he was really doing, creating disharmony. And so it is that there are other truths will be coming forth that will show us the right way to go when we interact with each other, or when we attempt to lead others to do our bidding or what it is that we think is important. So we're in a very critical time, and I'm hopeful that each of us will understand and be able to discern what's the truth in what's being said and what is harmful and not true for the greatest good. So even in voting, or even in participation in politics, or participation in your community, and however you want to be involved or should be involved, it's time to make better choices, to try and look forward to another generation, or in the indigenous perspective, for 7 generations at the minimum, what's going to happen with the decisions we make today, and how will it influence those 7 generations in the future? I have grandkids now, so I don't waste water as much as maybe I did in the past. My showers are very short, and try to eat better, and all those good practices that give us good health, so that we can continue on to do our work and to influence others and inspire others to do good things also. And so before I leave, I just wanted to again thank David for inviting me, and thanking you all who believe that Jesus Christ was the best example of what we should be doing, the best example of how to hold ourselves out for the greatest good and to help the least of us. All those things is now our responsibility to do, to be like Jesus and to be by all the avatars that came before that were being examples for us to how to conduct ourselves. So you give me hope from listening to all that's been shared already. And again, thank you, Kweme. May it please you what I share with you. And meditante, walk in peace without fear. God is with you. Oh, thank you.
Say, Art, thank you. And I wanted to, first of all, mention, before I was conscious of your title, who we are, and was it who are we and what are we?
Why are we here?
And why are we here? I want you to know that I composed, I try to create a prayer that we can all participate collectively in every week in our community reading. And over, you'll notice today what the question was: we have forgotten who we are. I think that Spirit was nodding to you, and what you wanted to give to us today by helping us to prepare just a little more. Now, what I wanted to ask, and I asked of this, a form of this at 9 o'clock, but I just want to pursue this a little more. Because I know you can understand it. Sometimes when I read Indigenous authors, whether it's fiction, whether it's nonfiction, or even when I listen to Indigenous speakers like yourself, all right, I'm always tempted to put the book down, to give up on it, to give up on the speaker. Because there's such a heaviness that I'm reminded of when I'm in indigeneity, and yet, and it doesn't mean the book's not informative or not entertaining or whatever. It's just that it's not as shallow and trite as the entertainment that I am accustomed to, where I can turn it off and it's over. It's very different. Can you explain that?
I've mentioned before and on other occasions that we all suffer from post-traumatic stress, whether we understand it or not. We've inherited, and science confirms that, our genes are affected by previous generations, so that we sometimes remember things that we haven't really truly experienced. And then we perpetuate the stories of victimizations or traumatic experience that maybe the collective incorporated in their understanding of who they are. So again, for me, for the Indígena here and Turtle Island, and I know from around the world, we have all been visited by people who did not understand what it is to be a human being. And for whatever reason, and I don't want to use the word that I think I saw earlier, we don't use that word. Well, they forgot that they're supposed to be caretakers, and they decided to take something without asking, and they did not put anything back. And these are we all suffer from the effects of being separated from the land, for example. That's one trauma. The other thing is to have a different belief system imposed on us. And lastly, we see the destruction of our world around us by that taking without asking, not putting it back together again. And so I don't know of any group of people around the world, any native group or now, that has not been affected by the taking without asking. We've gone the next level, and now a lot of us, a lot of the people of the world, exonerate and hold on high these people that are so competitive and have taken so much that they have more than anybody else. And then they show it off, so to speak, in expressions of grotesque exuberance. I'm just going to say it like it is. I guess I am offended by people taking a rocket ship into the just above the earth for $50 million a trip that lasts 15 minutes and pollutes the world. And they're praised and they're on TV and everybody's, oh, what a great deal. We've really gone too far. We've really gone too far. But as the light will tell us, that is wrong. And hopefully people will start seeing how wrong it is and do something about it. Well, it doesn't answer the question of how to resolve all the pain and suffering and the trauma that we have experienced. But I'm here to tell you that I've managed to heal from my own experiences, and I will do my best to help others to disconnect from all of that trauma, even if it's in your DNA, even if it is something that is very difficult to let go of.
Art, would you say that the presence of indigenous people, well, let me just put it this way. We've seen that bumper sticker, subvert the dominant paradigm.
No, I haven't.
You haven't seen it. Okay. So anyway, pretty simple, right? Subvert the dominant paradigm.
Yeah.
To me, it seems like the very presence of indigenous people exposes how ridiculous the dominant paradigm is. And because of that, for me, it's distressing to expose myself to this contradiction. It's distressing. So when I expose myself to indigeneity, it's like, this is just too much. This is too heavy. And we're so disconnected from reality. And your presence is a reminder of that. Does that make sense?
In one way it does. And everyone on the planet comes from an indigenous culture in some way or form in your ancestral history. We're all suffering from the same story when this began. By being alive, by continuing to share my way of doing things in reciprocity and in respect for all my relations, and all the indigenous people around the world who continue to do that, I'm hoping that more people through the media, through exposing what's going on in the indigenous world, will start remembering from their past how it was in their place. We have to teach each other remind each other on a daily basis sometimes, or whenever there's an opportunity to be in the presence of thousands or tens of thousands or millions of people through this media, to continually remind people that they're misbehaving, and to also remember that they come from that place that was connected. I'm sometimes invited to places that I might have some hesitancy in even being present, but it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for me to tell this story about how in this moment we have the responsibility to remember our connections to the spirit in all matter.
Well, so far I've done all the inquiring, and I would like to, oh, good, Scott, because I was just gonna ask you to raise your hand. Oops. Okay, go ahead, Scott.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, Art, but it was just beautiful what you shared with us. And I wish I knew more about the Chumash. I'm from the East Coast, Bunny Lenape Bazaar. But I wanted to just tell you why I was listening and hanging on to your words. Out my back window, not even half a mile away, is Santa Maria Airport. And for some reason, there have been 2 fighter jets practicing landing and taking off for several weeks. And so I was hearing them in the background and hearing all the beautiful things. It was surrealistic, just to let you know. And of course, gave more power to what you were saying. I guess the question I want to ask you is, where are you with nonviolence and its power? And I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. Just a couple minutes, it'd be really valuable to me. So, thank you.
I was a Marine in Vietnam for 13 months. And I saw what destructive power we are capable of. My job in Vietnam, because I had my expertise, was to keep track of not only where all the troops were, but where we were going to arc light. B-52 bomber run, a mile wide and 3 miles long, nothing left. We also had a battleship off the coast. A 16-inch gun will go more than 30 miles from that little boat and destroy an area 1 kilometer in circumference, nothing left. We could pinpoint these things. We had aircraft, jets, that would do their little thing, and all kinds of different kinds of weapons. I mean, amazing. And I had to live with, my little job. It took me years to overcome my trauma. The destruction that we do. The land there is still contaminated, and it's. I have cancer from my participation from, we were dropping defoliants on top of everything and living in it. And now the people there live with the deformities and the cancers and all the stuff that comes along with our junk that we left behind. If there is an opportunity for you or anyone that's listening, and you're voting for somebody that's going to be elected to a position that's going to maybe give them the power to tell where we're going to spend money and how we're going to spend it. However we can find those peaceful people like yourself. I'm not a violent person, but if somebody bugs me and my life is in danger, I will respond in kind. I just have to defend myself. That's just, I think, a natural thing. I can walk away, and that's the first defense. But if you can't walk away because you're surrounded, do what you can with what you have where you're at. And in the moment, I will promote peace. And I will share a peaceful way of doing things with everybody I meet. There's several groups here locally. One of them is the Nuclear Age Peace Foundation. Great group of people. trying to do good things to prevent, what we're talking about. And so I think a grassroots movement is a potential to let our governments and our leaders know we no longer want to participate in armed conflict. The companies that perpetuate the sale of arms, and we have to hold them accountable. We're making more money on arms deals than a lot of nations have as their total worth. So why are we letting those people do those things? One class action recently to get rid of those weapons that are being used to kill children. And I think it was the Remington Corporation that was held responsible and liable. They're out of business because of the lawsuit. Perhaps we can get another movement, another way to call attention to the connection between what people are doing, why are they doing it, and where that weaponry is coming from, who's allowing them to carry those things. And it's becoming very, very political. I understand in Texas, you don't even have to file for a concealed weapon permit. Everybody can go buy a weapon and just, nobody knows how many weapons there are in some of these states. I'm hoping that enough people will understand we're perpetuating violence by the use of these weapons, and we have to come to the understanding that we have to stop manufacturing and selling them. So I'm just speaking in the moment. I'm not part of any group or organization that's going to organize in order to do that. But I'm just saying we got to start thinking about that and doing something about that. And there are people who are currently, well, let's support them. Let's back them up. Let's let them know that we're behind that. I hope it helps.
Thank you. Is there someone else who has something on your heart before we go to communion? Michael.
Thank you so much for all you shared. I can't be precise with this, but I just want to know, could you talk to the concept of redemptive violence and how do we integrate that or make peace with it? Sometimes I hate myself when for example, when the Ukrainians sunk the big Russian ship, I was full of joy, but there was a part of me that said, no, this is just going to this is redemptive violence. Could you help me with that?
The Shumish people were attacked by soldiers, and first they ran away, and then they were sometimes cornered and would, fight back. They even went so far as to try and prevent further attacks by going to the Presidio and, attacking the church or whatever soldiers were around. We've always done our best, or tried to do our best, some of us, to defend the country, to defend the homeland, to defend our way of life. I see that happening in the Ukraine on one level, and having participated in that kind of stuff, if you just have to respond, there's no other way to do it. Now you talked about preemptive, like that ship. I don't know what kind of armament it had, but it was on the coast for a reason. And the port that was very important to the Russians is there. So they're either going to defend or they're going to do something to help impose their will. Intelligence, another form of defense, is going to find out what their intention might be. And as a response, if you will, to prevent further destruction, they took that decision. They made that decision to preemptively, stop that from happening. I'm not the person to make decisions like that. I'm not going to reason, but I'm just giving you an idea of what might be in process.
Well, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Well, my family, shall we have communion?
Wait. So can I say something? I'm sorry, before communion.
Go ahead, Rosie.
Okay, thank you so very much. You know what? I've been battling with the headache this morning. But I want to say that just listening to your voice was very calming, and thank you for what you shared. Blessings to you and yours. I wanted to say, I wanted to take it a little bit different from what Brother Michael asked right now, and that is in speaking of the topic that he mentioned, how how do you think, or what do you think about the reality as well of the immense focus on Ukraine, and you know, all of these forms of assistance, whether it be, you know, immigration